we are gonna talk about some Zelda. But before that, and before we launch into stuff, welcome everybody to the Nerding Grounds podcast. Now in video.
Yeah, a
Look at
video
us.
podcast, which
Look at our
seems,
faces.
kind of counterintuitive, right?
Not anymore. No, this is the way of the future.
I mean, I think we did podcasts to be off of video, but now we're
E-
doing it on
But now we're
video.
back. But now we're back.
Yeah, now we're
COVID
back.
happened. Everybody started staying
Full
home
circle.
more. Yeah, full circle.
Yeah.
Um, If you're new here, this is a weekly video game show that myself, Quinn, and my bestest of friends, Matt, hold every week, and we talk about the games we're playing and the news that piques our interest.
Oh, thank God. I thought
And
you were going to say somebody else.
like who? Josie?
Yeah, honestly.
I mean, if y'all were hanging from a cliff, it'd be tough, but I'm sorry. I think you'd understand.
Yeah, yeah, I would.
But this week, we're gonna get into some Zelda. We've both been playing Tears of the Kingdom. Um, I but first I wanted to ask you a quick question. How do you feel about the fact that Overwatch 2's PvE mode has been canceled?
There's a couple bad things we could talk about before, maybe infuriating things before we get into the new Legend of Zelda, right?
Yeah, I mean that's gonna take up the
What
entire podcast, so we might as well.
the F? But like, what? How, how how do they just cancel something like that, right? They should just cancel Overwatch at this point. They should be like, hey, look,
That's what
it
everybody
isn't
was
making
saying.
money for us. We're done, right? We're done for now.
Yeah, yeah,
Why?
yeah.
Why are they even? They literally just gutted everything about it. There was literally absolutely no point whatsoever for the whole Overwatch 2 thing. It's just a big patch. Like, I mean, that's
Overwatch
all it
is
ever was. But you could literally say that, okay, well, the PVE stuff's supposed to be coming, but now no, it's not, which is nuts.
it's been the weirdest video game launch, and I should say that I can do quotes now because we're in video.
Yeah,
For those listening, I'm doing quotations right now.
I did it anyway.
I don't really consider it a video game launch. It's more like a giant patch. It's just been weird every single turn. It's like, okay, it's Overwatch 2, but it's the same thing. And now all they've done is enact a battle pass. And now that thing that they promised that everybody, I feel like okay, I don't want to say everybody, but a lot of people forgot about. I kind of forgot about it for a little bit. Had they come out and said Overwatch has a PvE mode and we're launching next week, I probably would have been a little excited about it. But it did remind me that they just came out of the gate saying, this is going to be a thing. Why would you do that? If,
Yeah, no, I mean that was like the point. Like that was literally the point to begin with for Overwatch 2 was the idea that they were going to implement this big PvE mode that was far too big to just be like it had to be like a new thing, right?
that
Like
was the
there
only
had
justification for them putting the two on there, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. Um it just seems incredibly odd that they would just I mean, I've seen game developers, companies hold on to dying horses like a lot harder. You know what I mean? Like,
I
why just
mean,
like cut that out? Like, they didn't even show or do anything. They were just like, no, we're not doing that anymore. Right? It's
I mean,
done.
Redfall just launched, and clearly that was, especially how Xbox has kind of like turned its back on Redfall a little bit. They've just been like, I
Yeah,
don't know,
I got. That was the other bad thing that I really want to talk about. Actually,
Redfall sucking.
yeah, but I played it.
You did?
Oh yeah, I did.
You didn't like it?
I played it so y'all didn't have to.
I wasn't going, and I love me some Arcane, but I saw enough of what was going on to be like, well, this is clearly not anything I need to play.
Yeah, that is a game that they could have canceled maybe, and no one would have been the wiser. Or maybe the game probably just needed a good
6 months?
year maybe of
6
it.
months to a year, yeah.
Yeah,
No, the concept is fine. The
yeah.
concept's fine, and you could take what they have now and build something out, like other games have
But
done it. No Man's
it
Sky, Sea of
needs
Thieves.
it needs a lot, and there's no
It
way they're gonna do it, right? There's like no way. I'm
Not
just
with patches.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm very confused about what was going through the heads of Arcane when they were just like, yeah, ship it. Because it actually is, I mean, you've heard me talk a million times by now. Like, clearly, a game can be in a pretty big acceptable range of bugginess for me.
Yeah.
That the frame drops in that game for both me and Kevin, who has a better computer than both of us, right?
Hmm.
was dropping off completely. Like the game was freezing for me at like every other point. It seems like every time you like move over to a new section, it like has to load and it just drops to nothing.
And
It
that is not a graphically intense game.
No,
It's
it's
just
not.
not.
In the map, like if you look at the map, like it looks big, but it's not big at all. And then
No.
why
And
is that a problem? Because there's literally so many like houses that you can't even go into, right? Which
see,
just seems
that right there
so
seems so
weird.
trivial, but that would kill it for me. That would
Yeah, no, because
immediately turn me off.
that doesn't exist anymore in games. Like
No.
games, like if you see a house, you can go in it, unless if there's obviously like a barrier of houses that you're just not supposed to go into. But that only
Right,
exists
right.
in like a set of in a game like this, like where the idea is like roaming around looting and stuff.
Well,
To the
that's the
how
thing is like you're supposed to explore, and if there's no reason to explore,
yeah.
that game's dead. Then you're just moving from one kill point to the other. And
Oh,
that's really what it seems like.
and the things that you can the houses that you can go into are literally just copy and paste that just the
Yeah,
same
yeah.
exact thing, same exact layout, pretty much. Uh,
Yeah. And I mean, and when you
but
compare
then
that
just do that to all the houses. So I don't
Mhm.
understand.
When you compare that to something we're about to talk about, um,
Yeah,
this being a 30 FPS buggy mess compared to something like Zelda, which, I'll hold for a minute, but like I'll get into how that game has impressed me with what it's done graphically.
yeah.
But
Uh,
like there's no excuse for something like this to exist in that state.
no, there's really not, right? Especially when so it's fundamentally okay of a game too. So I think when a game's like really fun, I can overlook a lot. But
Mhm.
this game doesn't do anything new. Like I haven't
No.
even played it yet, but I'm gonna go on a limb here and say you just want to go and play Dead Island 2, and you'll have a much better time.
That's
And
kinda what I
like,
gathered, yeah.
it's the same thing with like not like nothing. You get gun drops. That's it, right? There's no
Loot, there's colored
customization.
loot, there's colored
uh,
loot.
Yeah, right, but there's not even that much of it. I mean, there's
This Yeah.
customization in the sense you can like change the appearance of the gun, but you can't like, you know, I believe in Dead Island 2 right now, you can literally, like craft different weapons and augment them and stuff like that. And then there's like
Mhm.
skill cards and different stuff that you would want in that type of game. In this one, there's nothing. But here's the worst part. The worst goddamn part is literally the easiest, dumbest enemies I've seen since Nintendo 64. Jesus Christ.
The humans?
Yeah,
Or all
no,
of them?
all of them. The vampires just zerg you, and I think they're hitting you. It's like I'm taking damage, but I can't really see,
Almost like
so
an
it doesn't matter.
aura, like an AoE attack?
Yeah, but I would assume like there's actually supposed to be doing like swipes and stuff, but the animations just don't really work.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah, yeah.
and then yeah, like the humans, they'll shoot at you and they'll just miss wide. You can literally just stand there. But also, it's so sparse. They like don't. So it's like you sitting there and you're waiting 5 minutes running around before you ever even see another enemy. and then they die in 2 seconds because they're incredibly dumb and very weak.
and weak. Yeah.
Yeah. So you're sitting there and you're playing co-op with your buddy with multiple abilities.
And you're just stomping everything.
You're like, why? I can just shoot one shot in the head. That's it. It's done. You
And
know?
it's not necessarily a game that, and I knew this from the get-go, it's not a game that you really should play by yourself because,
Then it's even worse, right?
yeah.
It's just a very unfinished game. Like clearly
Yeah,
it
that
doesn't really
sucks.
have an AI. I think that's probably AI that is in inherent in Unreal or whatever the hell they're working with.
Yeah.
Uh,
It's just kind of a scrap together thing. And with the way that Microsoft is going, especially with their whole acquisition troubles and legal troubles, and they just they seem like they I feel like they gave this game an avenue because they didn't want to be the studio or the publisher that closed a bunch of studios or shut down a bunch of projects that studios were working on. And so I think that this game got, a path that it shouldn't have, or it should have at least been put on the back burner for a little bit longer instead of being allowed to release in this state. But maybe they didn't
yeah,
want to be
yeah.
an Activision and start shutting down a bunch of projects and putting people out of their work.
Yeah, it was crazy because it was just like an unfinished game. But then, like I said, I mean, there's just a lot of things to the game that I don't think would have changed no matter what.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's just kind of like maybe a project that was going on without too much of direction of what it wanted to be.
In
But
another world, maybe it would have just been completely redone.
yeah, I mean, I like the aesthetics, right? It's
Hmm.
kind of like small world, and then we get like kind of creepy looking vampires.
Yeah, some of the design choices were
Cool stuff
interesting.
going on. Yeah, some
Yeah.
creepy voice constantly talking to you through like the radio. It has some cool stuff. The art is nice, right? I like the
Hmm.
art. Uh, but game game mechanics are just not there. I feel like in that style of game, especially with like the abilities and all that, you would expect to get like just ran over by hordes of stuff, maybe. But
Yeah, yeah.
it'd be kind of hard to survive. And maybe, hey, look, vampires come out at night. That's clear. There are more enemies there during the nighttime. I kind of feel like it's like if you get, it would be more fun if you get caught out at night somewhere, you need to hunker down and try to
Right,
survive.
like there's a little more
Something. I
defense
don't know. But it's
defense going on.
no, you just kind of run around and
I
kill
don't know why
stuff.
I mess with this
I
every
mean,
time.
the only time you die is when your buddy shoots a tripwire, exploding two of them next to each other, killing the both of you.
That sounds really specific. Did that happen
Yeah.
to you?
No, what? This never happened in any
Well,
game. Especially not that one.
the best way to start off a Zelda conversation is to have two big bummers. And we've done that. Check. Check and
Yeah.
check.
That's
And
out of the way.
why put it off any longer? I want to talk about this game, Tears of the Kingdom. Light spoilers, but really I wouldn't worry about it too much. I'm I'm about, I would say maybe 20 hours in, give or take. Um, I don't feel like I've scratched more than the surface. I feel like I'm definitely still figuring stuff out. How much would you say you played?
I mean, not that much, right? Because I beat, of course, like the tutorial area, and then I've maybe gotten like an hour or so into it. After that, I got it on Monday. You
Okay,
know,
so you're like fresh in the
yeah,
game. Cool.
I am fresh in the game. There's a lot more.
Well, if I spoil something light for you, I'm sorry, but I really don't feel like I have too much I'm sitting on that isn't at least on social media or can be inferred from the game. It's mostly just my findings with playing around the systems and stuff.
Right.
Did you, so you got past the tutorial Sky Island?
Yep.
And so when you said an hour, you're like an hour into the overworld, like after that part?
Yeah, like
Yeah.
basically tell you, okay, you unlock the first tower, right? Did
Yeah,
the
yeah.
map of Hyrule, started making my way off towards one of the other places, right?
Yeah. Which the
Just
towers are way
just
better now.
just saw it, yeah, right? It's pretty cool actually. Just saw a cutscene that that confirmed it for me that we spoilers that we have time travel again, right? Yeah, more or less.
Yeah, so, like, you mean in
It's not us,
the
but
overarching
yeah,
story?
yeah.
There's something going. I don't quite know what that means yet, and so I think you're safe as far as the spoilers there, but,
Well,
like,
yeah. I mean, I would say it could be something else entirely, but it seems to me like Zelda transported back in time, right?
yeah, like, maybe well, yeah, because, I mean, you got that bird guy, which is
Yeah.
which gave you your death core arm,
Yep.
which I'm a huge
It's
fan of.
beautiful.
I love the death
Same.
core arm.
It's very anime too. Yeah, it's
Oh,
great.
so much, just like
Yeah. Especially with
something
like
out of
symbol right in the middle, you know? I feel like I'm
yes.
about to summon a mech with that thing.
And I find it really complimentary for most of the outfits. I have like this cool snow outfit going on, and I just got one dark hand. Looks like I have frostbite.
Lucrezia.
Grazia. Um, so let's start off with that tutorial area since we can both say a good bit about it. Um, sorry, I think everything in my house just exploded. Uh, so that
All right.
tutorial area. I'm just gonna start off with I did not have the best time onboarding with this game. I was in a little bit of a rough spot. I was frustrated with that area, and it was like almost like you have that situation when you're playing a game that you've been really excited about, and you're like, I don't this is this is not working for me, and it's bumming me out.
Really?
Really. And I knew I was like, I don't think everybody else is having the experience, so I don't know what it is. I think it throws a lot at you really fast, and um,
Okay.
the onboarding isn't as you know explained as maybe it
It's
was in
not
the
as
previous game.
directed as it was in
No,
the previous game. It always has been kind of, if you really think about Breath of the Wild, it did throw you or leave you to your own devices, like
totally.
basically from the get go, right? I mean, well, yeah, I mean, sure, the starting area was definitely a bit more directed, but then I mean, afterward, it's kind of the same thing. Like, it just drops you in, and it's like, hey, there are things in these particular regions, but
I think the major
we're not
difference
really gonna
is
say anything else.
no. I think the major difference is with the powers. So in Breath of the Wild, um, and I want to start off.
It's more complex, right? It is.
Yes, because in Breath of the Wild, you you have very specific powers, and they didn't really seem that way initially. But Tears of the Kingdom has kind of recontextualized that, and now you're like, oh, you could only control metal. You could stop objects, and yeah, there was a lot of possibilities to do with that. But you can make like an ice block, and your I can't think of the other ones off the top of my head right now, but there were very specific powers. This one's just like you can connect anything to anything else that is a separate object.
You can build, right? Like
And
whatever your messed up brain can think of.
that's the thing. Very bad for a tutorial.
Yeah.
Incredible for a full game. And I think this game's reliance on you having played Breath of the Wild, or at least understanding what Breath of the Wild is, goes a little too far because I'm just like, at least give me a little bit more. And Link being totally stripped back to beginning of Breath of the Wild capabilities can feel really awkward because you're just like, I can't paraglide. I don't have a lot of the things that I'm used to in this type of game. And so I think it was a harsh onboarding. But once I got to the end of that, I was a little more comfortable. I think I was just really excited to get going, and it feels like it's like pushing a boulder up a hill. It's just like this stuff is finicky. It's a little janky because I don't quite understand. Like my muscle memory hasn't formed yet around moving these objects in this 360,
Right. Yeah.
space.
Yeah, the 2
And
main.
so it can be a little overwhelming.
It works. It does work well when you realize, like, okay, like if it's adjacent, I need to flip it towards me, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
then move it vertically how I want.
And where I am now, that feels a lot more natural than it did
Yeah.
when I was first exploring this island. And they do draw it out. And it's the small things like going to this shrine and doing this puzzle is fine. But when you have to backtrack and climb over this really annoying mountain to get there that you don't really feel like doing again, that's frustrating. That's like,
You mean when
we're,
you took the obvious deep tour through said mountain first before you got your first power, so then you have
yeah,
to go back and do it all over again? Because
exactly.
they put you right next to the goddamn place. So anybody who played Breath of Wild has been like, I know what I have to do. I have to combine these chilies with this apple, cook it, get some fucking warm food, and then
Yeah,
I'm gonna trek through this. I'm gonna show them, right?
that's
And then
exactly what I'm
yeah,
talking about is
yeah.
yeah, your brain has to be retrained. So maybe someone who didn't play Breath of the Wild had an easier time. I
I
don't
feel
know.
like the game showed me like it's like I'll teach you to not go through to the story point first. All right.
Yeah, yeah.
You're gonna you
In hindsight, I kind of appreciate it. In the moment, I was frustrated. I was just like, this isn't fun right now. I really wish it was.
like if that's literally the exact thing you did what I just did, right? I didn't go
Yeah.
directly back that way. I went to the right
No.
first and went all the way around, which is actually what you're supposed to. Yeah, I mean, you don't necessarily have to do anything in any particular order in that game. You
No.
never did. But if you go around the right, it kind of like leads you along a nice,
Yeah.
I guess, if you're looking at the Temple of Time towards the left, right? But
Yeah.
if you're
But
looking back,
playing a Breath of the Wild 2 or a Tears of the Kingdom and not being able to just leap off of something and
Mhm.
float to where you need to go feels very wrong.
Yeah, I do wish they would have just given you the glider right off the get go because
I
they
know
did in
why
the first
I
one.
know why they didn't because there's a lot of systems they want you to interact with, and that is a surefire way to ensure that I skip almost every one of those systems that you want me to interact with.
Yeah,
Like, attaching things to a rail. And
actually, I found that to be really cool. I just
once that stuff happens, you're just like, okay, yeah, I get it. When I built that flying machine and took off and like glided with the fan, I was just like,
you know what? I
okay.
never even thought about putting the fan on that thing.
Oh, you just glided it?
Yeah, I just glided it, but yeah, I don't know why I didn't put a fan on it.
That's been my typical thing is I spend entirely too much time making things more complex than they need to be in this game. I'm like, oh, I could just put two wheels on a board and carry this Korok, or I could make it an entire house. Why not? It should be
Yeah.
protected from the snow. And then I sit there for like 20 minutes like, nope, 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 not quite. And then I shake it and the whole thing explodes and I'm like,
Well, that's
I've gone.
definitely why they give you, so much like just stuff to work with
Yeah,
of
yeah.
the game, just randomly,
They
right?
do, but every like 3 hours you progress in that game, you unlock an easier way to do those things. And you're like, I really wish I hadn't spent 45 minutes trying to create this car just because I was so interested in the systems. It's like I could have just waited and I would have unlocked this really easy mechanic that
Yeah. Well, I
so
always kind of like figured too. If I sat there and really like tried to make something cool, I would go on the internet and see like some 13-year-old kid make something that I'd never even thought would be completely possible.
yep. I have a I have a video to show you. And we'll do it later, but
Good thing for now, people are just building penises, right?
damn
So I
it.
don't have to feel stupid
Why would you? Come on. How did you know? Uh,
because people are building a lot of penises.
what about flamethrower penises?
Yeah, I saw that one.
Do you see the one where the balls explode?
Yeah, yeah. It's just a. All right, now see that does kind of make me feel a little stupid. I never would have thought of that. It's crazy.
It's just a flamethrower. It's just a big guy.
Yeah.
And the flamethrower starts going off, and then you realize that the balls are going doop doop doop.
Freaking
It
explodes.
was I don't toss the term masterpiece around too much.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Beautiful.
yeah, so obviously you can make some wacky shit and people are wasting no time.
Yeah.
Um and I avoid that because it's going to get in my head too much. Like I want to play this game how I play it and figure the
Right.
things out but it is funny to see.
Yeah, but there's definitely for people that like to build stuff and just see what they can kind of create from what the game gives you. That this one gives you a lot, right? Just
I
the sheer ability to connect shit together is just
it's
adds so much more depth.
it's such a simple thing and it always every time I play a Zelda or a Mario or something like that, I just have this reminder. I'm like, "Oh yeah, Nintendo just like I have my problems with Nintendo, but they just understand how to make simple things perfect."
Yeah.
Like it's that thing you go play Assassin's Creed whatever and it's the I know we always use this to bash on shit, but like that's my example. Assassin's Creed open world games and it's got all the armor and all the quests and all this and that, but it's like they forget the core concept of you want something to be have that magic, that wonder. And when you hop into Tears of the Kingdom in 2023, you're like, "Oh yeah, this is what video games are supposed to do." Just
Right.
make shit just work. I don't know.
Yeah. No, I playing that game, I was like, oh yeah, it's really nice to actually play a game that just works, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Like it feels like it's been a while.
I
It really
know.
does.
I
Things
know.
just aren't really running too well. Like
Yeah.
even some old games that I was just playing recently that like I felt like running fine just aren't anymore. And I don't know why.
I don't know. There's an evergreenness to it, and I will say at the top here, I have a complicated relationship with Breath of the Wild. Um, I respect it. I think that game's great, and I really, really like it a lot. But it's nowhere near my favorite Zelda, and I had a lot of issues with the way that it worked because I felt like I couldn't get the most out of it like other people could.
Right.
Like I loved finding all the secrets and I loved doing the challenges and the combat, but there was some element missing there where I was like, there's so much missing Zelda DNA here. Um, I really feel like that's been fixed with this one. I think for me, Tears of the Kingdom is way ahead of Breath of the Wild, personally.
Well, what is the DNA though? You know, like, do you feel like it's just because you can, like, the systems in play are more
I
suited to you, or what
I
you can like
definitely think that's
invent
one.
and think of, right?
That's
Because
a big
I
part of
feel
it.
this, I feel the same. You know, like currently, it's I don't know what are those things there for me to do their puzzles and
hmm
that I need to do to progress through the game.
I
It's
think
not
that
that I
I was
yeah,
gonna
I
say
don't
I think the powers for me make total sense now.
right,
Before it seemed like a way to complete challenges and a lot of challenges, like a broad spectrum of challenges, but
right.
almost very specifically. Then you could take those things and exploit the game. And that's not how my brain works. I don't have a exploit the game type. That's not what I'm looking for typically.
Right.
And I think that's great. This, however, gives you that however your brain works, this is going to work for you.
Yeah.
You can, and so I'm like walking through the world and I'm seeing all these things that I can fuse. I'm seeing all these things that I can attach to other things and create things that absolutely jives with how my brain works a lot more. Aside from that, there just seems to be more going on here that is Zelda. I think the world feels more lived in. It
Yeah, I
feels
mean, it is.
busier.
Right. Yeah.
You
It
know,
definitely is.
they're a little more, they direct you a little bit better with the quest lines. It doesn't just feel like go to Ganon, go fight the four beasts. And I do respect that Breath of the Wild did that. But this whole tracking all of these little side things and things that you're picking up, and it's not trash. It's not trash quests. It's all in service of the greater plot, but it's keeping you updated with what's going on in the world. It feels like everybody in Hyrule knows what the other person's doing, and it all feels cohesive instead
Right.
of it just being this giant sandbox and you can do whatever the hell in.
Right. I mean, it while still being a giant sandbox, that
It
you be able to do whatever the hell you want in.
that has not
I
been
know
lost at all.
it is a lot more like I don't know. It's certainly it's kind of like in Breath of the Wild. You get a sense of a civilization that was lost, right? Like
Yeah.
people are maybe without them directly sort of stating it, but things were sparse. People
Yeah.
weren't out and about doing stuff, trying to rebuild, right?
No, you'd
Uh,
have like a person here, a person there, but everything felt a little disjointed.
yeah. Here's like well, we were trying to rebuild. We're all kind of grouped together. We're all out doing different humanitarian tasks, and well,
Yeah.
and now this next calamity is kind of throwing shit in the rocks. But hey, let's find the princess.
Yeah, we're all gonna do this.
Yeah,
And also you feel like they all know the princess. Like the princess has been walking around, Zelda's been walking around, getting to know these people, doing all these things. You have Impa, who's now like retired, but is off looking at these glyphs, and you have all the people that were in the last game using this like almost resistance force to figure out the mysteries, and that just it feels better to exist in that world for me
yeah,
than Breath of the Wild, where it was just like I can go here and do that and go, but it felt like a very solitary adventure. Now it feels like people are on this with you. They're working toward a greater goal.
right. Yeah, no, I mean you're absolutely right. There just is more people, right? There is a lot
Hmm.
more things going on here and there, which is great. It is great. As far as like, um, you said that however your brain thinks, it just kind of works. Like, I really think the game, uh, obviously the whole building system, like that's genius. Another
Yeah.
thing that like going in, I was like, how are they going to top Breath of the Wild? Like literally, especially with the sequel, some place in the same Hyrule,
Yeah.
Uh, and then I saw that I was like, oh, that's how. Okay, that makes sense. And then yeah, like the first time you put a goddamn plank of wood underneath a giant hook to put it on a rail to like glide across, I was like, all right, we got a game. Let's go.
I made that way too complicated for myself. I was convinced that I had to balance it and I had to have two hooks going in opposite directions.
Yeah.
And so I had to like wiggle it on there and then it went, and then I saw a video of someone just went. I was like,
Yeah,
"Oh,
but that's
yeah."
like so the game gives you a surplus of material. And it's not to like make you overthink it. It's to really just have your brain go like however you might think about it,
Yeah,
Because
because you don't want
some
just
people are
one
just gonna be like
solution.
doop and done. Some people are gonna try to like probably cling on to just the hook somehow, Say
Right.
hook the
Or
sword.
yeah,
Yeah.
no, like honestly, I saw
I don't
videos
know
of
if
people
that's
just
possible, but
attaching a Korok to a hook and throwing it across. I saw people
that's
I
actually hilarious. I wish I would have done that.
I didn't know you could attach Koroks. I never thought about it
I
until I
attached
was
it to the board like the first time just because I was like, I don't want this guy to fly off. But I really wish I just would have just put him on the hook. That's hilarious.
honestly, there was a video of somebody attached the Korok to the front of the minecart and it just smashes into the
You sick bastard.
it's so messed up. Donkey cut down like 20 trees in his video and
Yeah.
just had a giant tree, and it was so long that it was bowing and like doing this. And
The fact is like, yeah.
I didn't know that physics was in the game until I saw Donkey's video, and I'm like, the tree's just going, and then he
That's
and then
so
he
weird.
drops it,
Yeah, I didn't know that it did that either.
and
That's
then he
great.
dropped it in the clouds. He's like, no, that took like 50 trees.
Speaking of physics, Link gives absolute zero shits about the laws of gravity, does he? And now that I
Oh
think
no,
about it,
no.
he like never has, right? He's never cared as long as there's water, you
As
know.
long as there's water.
But I mean,
He
this one,
did an entire
like
title card before hitting the water.
right before, like right in the beginning of the game, it's just like, you know what? I'm a badass. Eagle dive, the biggest eagle dive we ever seen in a goddamn game ever.
Yeah, but then because a moblin comes over and has a different back tattoo that you can't see, which means it's way stronger, and he pokes you with a spear, one hit, dead. Do 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 do.
Yeah,
And you're
it
like,
is.
oh, okay, cool, 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 cool.
It is a little disjointed. Like, I don't know. I don't know why they just have that as like a
I've run into so many monsters where I'm just like,
yeah.
oh, okay, apparently I'm not supposed to fight that.
Yeah.
And your Dark Souls kicks in, and you're like, ah, but then you're like, okay, I didn't lose anything.
Right. No, I just meant like the fact that Link can jump from a, a ridiculous height,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
We're talking to
yeah.
the point where his body would be like obliterated when he smacked into the water.
Yeah,
Uh,
no, it doesn't matter.
and yeah, it doesn't hurt him at all, but can be like poked by a wooden stick and die.
Yeah.
It is
But that's Nintendo for you.
immersion breaking, I guess. I don't know.
As long as it's fun, it doesn't matter. I pulled a really great quote from one of the creators, and I should have grabbed his name, but I didn't. One of the devs. Um, Apparently the ascend ability, the whole
Oh
go through
yeah,
the ceiling ability, which
which I actually really like.
I love it, and I
Yeah.
constantly forget it exists. And then I'm just like,
I,
how do I get out of this well? And I'm like, oh,
yeah. Actually,
which
it's crazy with this stuff that you can get out of that you don't think you can, like caves. Like you'll
Mhm.
be splunking, and then you'll just be like, "Well, I don't feel like going all the way back." Just
I got to the base of a tower like that because it was surrounded in spikes, and I just decided to go hanging out under in the cave. I found a cave underneath the tower, came up right at the console, and I was just like, yay!
it's kind of like I guess that was the point, right? Or maybe there was some other way. Then again, it always in the
One of
game.
them, it's the point. The other one, it's just optional.
Yeah, it is just like Breath of the Wild. It's always just felt like a game where, well, maybe there is a sort of dedicated path that that should be obvious, but you're probably not going to run across, right? And
Yeah.
then there's 3 to 4 other ways to type to do, ways to do things. And this one, there seems like that, but done better, even.
Right, because you can solve things in really stupid ways.
Yeah,
Like an article I saw earlier was just apparently people are just building bridges to solve everything in Tears of the Kingdom. And you can, and that's
yeah,
great, and I think that's awesome. Um, I actually have had multiple instances where I knew the solution and I picked the more complicated way because I wanted to see if it worked.
yeah, see if it works. Yeah,
Yeah. But so anyway, this quote, um, they're talking about the ascend ability. Apparently, that was a debug feature that they had from Breath of the Wild that they would use when they went to go investigate certain areas. They would, while they were developing this game, they would use that to quickly get out, if they went to a super low point. And they were just
uh,
like, what if we just put that in the game? Because cheating is fun.
yeah.
It's like, yeah, no, that's amazing. That's why I love Zelda because they will include stuff like that, and they think about the people that are playing it
Even too
extensively.
much. Yeah, like it's kind of crazy. I don't know. Just playing doing some of the puzzles and some of the stuff in that game. I'm like, those guys had a field day with this, like for
Oh
sure.
yeah,
You know?
it feels like what it was supposed to be, like what Breath of the Wild was meant to grow into. It's like, oh yeah, you
Yeah.
took the training wheels off, and now we have this game, and holy shit. And the more I play it, the more I'm just like I can't stop thinking about it and all the things that I can do and the places that I need to go visit. I'm quite overwhelmed. Um, but then
Speaking
I
of
just
which,
remember it doesn't matter what you do.
yeah, no, it doesn't. And but yeah, weapon crafting, equipping any item onto your arrow to enhance it.
That's such a
Just
better way to
yeah,
do arrows.
yeah, it's nuts.
I was
Nuts,
like,
like,
let
and
me
just, like, folks who haven't played it yet, I literally anything, like, any
anything.
of your item any of the items you pick up in that game, you can shoot through your arrow, and the
Yeah.
vast majority of them, you can, fuse to your weapons to make, like, new weapons, which is
Even if
pretty
there's
awesome.
no point, and you'll find
Yeah.
out, like some of the stuff you fuse, it's like, oh, this didn't really help. But you can do it.
Like,
Like it
from
doesn't
one of the robots, I picked up a sword, with a bow fused to it. It just gave it, like, 1 damage, right? Like, it does
right.
nothing.
I did that with a shield, and it was just like, whatever.
Yeah,
What
pretty
was
great.
one that I had that was really stupid? It was like a wheel on a sword or so. Or no, you go into these underground caves and you find these like ceiling hanging moblins or whatever they're called, and they're using like a halberd and a spear and a sword fused together into this ridiculously long pole that's like 6 times Link's height. And you can pick it up and you can just hold it and you're like, and it gives you the most insane reach. You can like hit things on the ceiling.
Yeah, I mean,
That's so stupid and great.
yeah. Or you can do like cool things like combine monster parts in a stick to make like a sword.
Right. And I think that's the big thing for me is that this game has made my inventory mean so much more. Where in
It's
Breath of the
all those
Wild, like I didn't feel like I used it.
yeah, because you didn't, right? Like there's you really did not use that stuff that much. I mean, I guess if you were really into like crafting potions or stuff, monster parts was really your thing.
I couldn't be
But
fucked.
yeah, same. Like
Or selling. I sold a lot of stuff in Breath of the Wild.
yeah, I mean that's what it was really used for, right? Selling. But
But
no, I mean
this,
in
you're
this
like,
one,
no.
yeah, like everything kind of has a big purpose to you. It's like, well, if I combine these two, what cool thing is it gonna make?
I mean, my favorite thing is like just taking monster horns, slapping on my weapons and getting like a +7
Yeah,
attack. And
with
yeah.
decent durability, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
and the worse the monster is, like the more dangerous the monster is, the stronger those elements are. And
yeah,
that's just cool.
it is just cool. I still hate like it makes the breaking weapon thing more manageable. I'm still kind of just like at some parts it's just like this breaks, this breaks, this breaks. I'm just like swapping through, you
Yeah.
know. I'm
What
I'm
I've
like, I'm
found
I'm Cloud and Avon's children, and I'm just running through different versions of my sword. Just
while
leave,
cartwheeling,
yeah, leaving the other ones behind, which is a little cool, but you know, I I also I hate opening up chest and getting like let's just say a weapon and then just having to leave it behind because I don't really have the space.
yeah, you run into the Korok guy like you did in the previous game pretty fast, and then you get 2 upgrades from him, and he runs to
Well,
the
yeah. I mean,
fortress
it depends on which
where
way.
you go. Yeah.
Yeah,
Apparently, you can run into him in a few locations. Like I went northwest first, and I think I found him.
the game tells you it doesn't tell you, but it says the first place is to go like northwest,
Yeah, they
right?
really want you to go to the snow.
So like I kind of took it as like that is because I mean the game definitely has different levels. Like those zones, but
Hmm.
you could go anywhere you want, but over here you were gonna get your ass kicked.
Yeah,
You were
yeah,
at lower level.
yeah. Which is
I kind
it
of took
feels a
that
little
as
opposite.
a
Like
way
I
to
feel
go.
like Breath of the Wild pushed you southeast,
Yeah,
like toward Kakariko and
yeah, and I
Hatano
guess
Village and
maybe
stuff.
it did that in Breath of the Wild, and I just never paid attention. But no,
Uh,
it definitely right out of the bat.
yeah,
Say,
it could
oh
just
hey,
be how I played it. Well, they kind of drop you off the plateau and send you toward that big like Twin Peaks mountain.
Right.
In this one, they drop you in front of the castle pretty much, and
Yeah.
you're hanging out
Yeah,
with the
you're
resistance.
centrally located, yeah, which
Yeah, which I very much prefer because it does feel
Mm.
like, there's a home base or something. Um,
Yeah, I actually really liked, uh,
yeah.
that whole bit and just having the castle there and I
Have
don't
you
know,
gone?
that Hyrulean architecture that
Yeah.
we've all grown to love.
Yep. Another cool thing about the crafting. So I've found that it's a little, it feels a little like all over the place. Sometimes I'll put something on a sword and that thing will break without breaking the sword. Like if it's a wooden piece or something. So I think it really matters what you're using as your base. And so I've
Yeah.
found that using an iron or a metal base lets things last a lot longer. So versus
No, it
like
makes sense.
if you take a rock and put it on a stick, you can not only is that going to break faster, but it does a lot less damage. If you take a rock and put it on a soldier's claymore, you're breaking rocks in like one hit and it lasts a lot longer. And so once you're doing like those cave diving sections, when you're trying to get through like these big rock walls, that's a lot more efficient than if you're using these remedial materials.
Yeah.
Um, and if you put something like a wooden stick on top of a sword, that wooden stick might break first while leaving your sword undamaged. I don't know. It's really random. The other cool thing is that the stones you get, like the crafting or
Yeah, like the
the
opals and
gems,
the yeah,
yeah. So while those are super valuable for selling, um,
they make
they
great weapons.
turn your weapons into just absolute ridiculous items.
And elemental, yeah, weapons, and they're definitely, like, pretty strong. Yeah,
If you put a piece of topaz on a sword, it sends an electric ball that can shock an entire group of enemies
crazy.
and make them all drop their weapons. It's completely broken.
Holy
And
fuck.
the flame one or the ruby will like bounce around. The other thing I realized, if you put a ruby on a sword or shield and you've equipped it, it gives you a ton of cold resistance.
Really?
Yeah. So it
See, I
just
didn't
heats your whole body
right. So
while
you
you
probably
have it out.
oh, that's crazy.
It's
Slap
just
that
stuff.
on a shield and yeah, and then there's a lot of just stuff to that game, right?
Yeah, so if you're going northwest and trying to get to the Rito village and you didn't grab the snow pants from the the first sky island, you could just put a rupee on something and or a ruby, not a rupee, that's money, on something and it'll heat you. That's cool.
Neat.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did get the pants, but neat.
I went into a random cave and found this awesome ice dress that is really cool. And it was just super random. I don't know. There's clothes all
Yeah,
over this game.
yeah, I mean, of course. I mean, there was in the last one, but I always feel like that starts off slow because I'm kind of like, I want new shit. Give me new shit. You know, give
Well,
me
if you
new.
go find the Gazette on the way to like if you're heading toward the Rito village, you're gonna run into the paper, like the news stand. It's an old what do you call it? Stable. And they give you a quest line that lets you unlock the froggy armor, which lets you climb surfaces in the rain.
All right, I want it.
Yep. So,
Did you see that your horses carry over from the last one?
oh yeah, I have two opponents.
I have Ganon's horse, so I've always just rocked that
I didn't get Ganon's
monstrosity.
horse.
Yeah, apparently a lot of people didn't, right? But it because it's like randomly. It's not random, but
It's
I
in
don't.
a few locations, I know that much.
Yeah, and it's like big open field. Just find it. But yeah,
Yeah.
no, it's like 5 times the size of fucking Link. It's giant
I watched
in
someone
life.
get Ganon. It's
Yeah.
he's or Ganon's horse, and it's huge. I have Zelda's or the white horse from Breath of the Wild that was like running around where Zelda was.
Yeah, I guess
Um,
because I do have a white horse that has like pretty high stats.
like
I kind of remember.
5 stamina or
Yeah,
something. Yeah, that's Zelda's. I think Zelda's horse, although she has a different one now,
it's
apparently.
um Ganon's it just has like its max speed isn't that high, but it doesn't really have any other stats. Like it doesn't have
You can
stamina. It
kill
just keeps
everything
going.
with it.
Yeah, and it doesn't like run out of gallop points. It just constantly goes.
No, it's a Clydesdale and just murders
Yeah.
creatures.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, of course, right? It's Ganon's horse.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, I will say I have not encountered any like structural Zelda temples yet. I have no idea what that's like, and I'm trying to keep myself from being too spoiled on it.
That would be cool, right? Like I didn't necessarily mind. Okay, the reason why the temples were the way that they were in Breath of the Wild makes sense. They were like big moving set pieces, right? Like and they
Yeah,
were
yeah.
they were to scale. What you were
Hmm.
looking at on the outside is how big it was on the inside, pretty much.
Yeah,
You know?
conceptually really impressive.
Yeah, no, yeah. So really. So incredibly immersive. So it really never bothered me. But yeah, no, I mean here we need like good temples. Good.
By the fourth one, I was a little tired of that though. Like it
Anyway,
felt hollow. I was like, okay, so these don't like yes, they have slightly different mechanics. Like one is a bird, one is an elephant, one uses water, one uses wind, one has like the salamander or whatever, but it didn't give me that Zelda adventure thing.
yeah.
And
I
so
mean,
far
let's
I'm
just like
already sensing way more of that like classic Zelda adventure, stylings. And so
yeah,
I have high hopes for whatever the phenomenons or challenges are at these 4 different locations.
have to see. Yeah, because I really don't know either. I didn't really think
I
about you would expect them to be I don't know. Something, especially the way some of these puzzles are, and this one is just like I don't know. Uh
I've found that the
I don't know
shrines
I don't know
are
what
extensive.
yeah, I don't know what a temple looks like in like Breath of the Wild or Zelda games. I really don't. I
No,
don't
and
know
I
what the
started I started on the slight like I just started with like a quest that brought me to literally a giant temple, but it was still more of a, it was like a big space. It wasn't something I went inside did challenges in. But I feel like there might be some level of big structural temple thing. And have you gone to the underground yet?
no, I don't know.
I won't say anything else.
Okay.
But do that. Go to the underground.
But like the chasm stuff or
Yeah.
yeah, okay.
Dive right in. Well, just go talk to the people in the
'Cause I'm heading
in
like straight northwest right now, right?
yeah, but if you want to backtrack and go talk to the people that are in the
In fact, I'm basically smacked in the middle of the area that's northwest of Hyrule. And the
yeah.
west I think is like one area up, you know?
Yeah, yeah. I did that's basically the path I went and then I started going southeast to find clothes
Yeah.
because I found out there might be some stuff I missed. But if you talk to the people at the base, they'll set you on the track to do the underground stuff. And it's not long. You can just go check in, do that real quick, and it
Okay.
unlocks some other stuff.
Then I heard them talking about it. A couple people was like, okay, like you gotta give me a quest or something. Otherwise,
That's where you get most of the starting quests from that home base. If you just keep
yeah,
checking back in there.
I guess next like
Somebody will tell you look for Impa.
teleport location I get, I'll go back. Yeah, I've already
Yeah,
found Impa and no one told me find Impa.
I know
I
you,
just
you
ran
could
into
just like you could just like run into you just I, and for some somehow you just do. You just run into things, and I don't get how
because
this game does that,
Nintendo hired like a shit ton of psychologists to analyze how the hell we play games, right?
right?
It's like we're talking about Breath of the Wild on this podcast, and it's just you see a mountain or like a cliff or something, you're like, I can climb that, right?
I
In any other
have
game,
to.
there would be nothing up there, but in this game, there is something.
That's the
Uh,
magic that I
uh,
yeah. That's the magic right there. It's like nobody else would put something up, but they know there's there's
but here's the thing,
clues that lead you there.
yeah, did you climb it? Because they put it there,
Or they
egging
put
you
it there
on.
because they knew you climb it.
Yeah, I don't know.
I think it's both. I think they know how to breadcrumb you around.
They do. They know how to play things like you can tell like obviously when something's like out of place. Like it's not naturally out of place, but
No.
in a game sense, like that's out of place. Like a
It's
rock on a little like hill, a rock on top of another rock, and you're like, "This is one little bastard's underneath that rock."
oh wait, oh there is.
Yeah, there it is.
Or this hollowed out tree stump. There's
Yeah.
something in there.
Oh, by the
Uh,
way, what's with the evil trees?
yeah, there's evil trees now. They
What?
they walk the trees walk toward you and try to eat you.
Yeah, what the F? I feel like there's something there, right? Is it post? Is that what's going on?
I
No.
think it's just trees. At one point, so I think the trees are just a regular enemy, but at one point you have to save the big Korok guy from a bunch of trees.
Hmm.
Yeah, that
Okay.
works out.
Yeah, I don't know. Something going on there. I feel like, if there isn't
Look,
some sort of backstory behind us, I'm like, shoot, why trees? Why the trees come after me? They're pissed off.
I'm,
And a
I
lot
mean,
of
that is the big part. It's like somehow they made a palpable like weirdness where
yeah,
it just feels it's the same Breath of the Wild overworld. And there's a familiarity everywhere you go,
right,
but everything in that space seems odd or different. Like it's a
right.
meticulous level of detail that they've adjusted almost everything, but the structure has stayed the same. And any other game like this would have taken the easy route and just changed a couple of things here and there. But it truly feels like this
No,
world has aged and developed
yeah,
over since, 2017,
right.
which
You get the sense that it's like, I mean, of course they could have just built a whole new game and a whole new world, but they made it the same world in a sequel or whatever because that's just they wanted to tell more of this particular story, right?
there's a
So
reason it wasn't just a
yeah,
cash grab.
exactly. So they did everything they could with it still being coherent to the first one. You can't just
Yeah,
completely change up the entire landscape, but they kind of changed up the entire landscape by adding shit to it.
I know. Like craters, and
Yeah,
I haven't even done that much of the
it
sky
literally
stuff.
falls through from the sky in
I
certain
know.
places too, which is pretty crazy.
And I feel bad because I'm like, I'm so ingrained in what's going on in the ground that I haven't explored the Sky Islands as much as I want to. And I know I will, so it's
I
fine, but
really
it
like
feels
that aspect.
weird.
Yeah,
Yeah,
honestly, the temple that should have been the temples. It's probably is that the temples?
maybe. That's the thing. I've played probably 15 more hours than you have, and I don't know. Like I've barely
I
scratched the
mean,
surface.
that is a game where it's just like if you really don't want to, or if you're just, I don't know, have ADD, like
Which I do, which we both
70%
do.
of us. Yeah, you never know, right? You'll just go off for the next couple of years.
And again, it's another reason why I think this works better for me than Breath of the Wild. While Breath of the Wild did definitely exploit my ADD, um, I didn't feel as rewarded as I do when I explore in this game. Like it was cool to
Really?
find stuff and gain stuff, but here I really do feel like I'm making like I'm having a video game adventure.
Oh, right.
Like every mile I progress feels meaningful in a way where I'm like, oh, like I want to go this way because I want to collect these resources, I want to find these things, and there's people here to talk to, and there's information to grab. Yeah, I don't know. It feels more organic to me than Breath of the Wild did. Um, which it's making me realize like I really, really, really like Breath of the Wild. I think I love this game.
Right.
So I think it's finally clicking for me in a way that I always wanted Breath of the Wild to click for me.
I mean, I will have to. I mean, I need to play it more, right? Do I think it's better than Breath of the Wild right now? Yeah, of course, right? Um, there are certain things just because it is an obvious improvement of what Breath of the Wild was, you know.
Yeah.
And again, I think Breath of the Wild was like a masterpiece. Is it my favorite game of all time? No, it's
Mhm.
really not. Is it my favorite Zelda? I probably like Ocarina of Time more. I
It
did
doesn't beat
there
Wind Waker or Ocarina of Time for me, but
right?
it's
There
yeah.
are certain things about it that I think I really liked other than, um, the usual. Like I kind of liked the story and the narrative going on and how they told certain pieces of it, right?
Hmm.
Like I enjoyed that in a Zelda game that did not have like that, I don't think on that level before. Um,
But there's more of that now.
yeah, and then there's more of that now. So it's cool. And I hear time in a Zelda and I'm like, are they are they gonna do the thing? Like,
Right?
am I gonna go back? Because that would be super cool, right?
There's been some I mean, and Zelda's not one to shy away from those just ballsy decisions like that. I mean, you remember in Wind Waker when you literally travel back to the underwater Hyrule and like the old music kicks in and it's just like that moment where everything is frozen in black and white and then all of a sudden the color comes back and you're just like, okay, wow, they did not have to put this in this game. No reason this had to be in this game, but it's like breathtaking. I don't know.
Super cool.
Yeah. I mean, even
Uh,
Ocarina of Time, when you didn't know that you were going to become an adult, like
right.
you just play the game and you're like, yeah, no, this is Zelda, whatever. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, okay,
Yeah. Yeah. Right. No
shit.
fucking clue. Yeah. Um, which is definitely one of my favorite. I mean, it's the point of that game, but I think one of the things that made it so cool for me
Yeah.
was just going back and forth and doing things in the different timelines. I would not mind seeing some of that here.
No,
It
I
would
wouldn't
be
either.
like I think the game's already too big and expansive for them to have any of that going on, but
But why
we'll see.
not?
Yeah, fuck it. Well, I'm not,
I
especially
mean,
with like the sky in the past. I mean, and obviously it's telling so much about this like pre-civilization, uh, or ancient civilization, whatever, aliens, ancient
I just,
aliens.
I just find that stuff so much more engaging.
Yeah, me too.
Um,
Me too. Though I mean, I don't know. Again, I guess I do like not that Zeldas of the past didn't have storyline and narratives, but they just felt like a means to an end, maybe.
it was a lot of atmospheric stuff.
Yeah, where like Breath of the Wild was really trying to tell the story of this particular Link, right? And
He felt like more of a
redemption
person, I
arc, I guess.
guess.
I don't know.
Yeah, and I do like his connection to Zelda. I like that they actually interact.
Yeah, yeah,
Especially in this one, like it starts off they're interacting and like his search for her is less of a Link, the hero of time, you have to find the princess. And it's more
yeah,
like, that's my best friend.
yeah.
And I'm looking for her and I'm figuring things out. Maybe even more. Who knows? I don't know. I have my opinions. I think they're shacking up. I I found something.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna say it until
Ooh,
you find it, but I
okay.
found something.
I
We'll
mean, if
talk.
they don't, I'm gonna want to be like, I'm gonna be a little upset, right? Because they kind of need to.
My fiction's already set, and I don't think anybody can
At
can
this point, Link deserves it. All right.
Both of them do. Jesus
Yeah, I was
Christ.
about to say Zelda 2, yeah, for
Who
sure. She's put
doesn't
in a lot of
bang?
work. She's put in a lot of work.
Who doesn't bang in times of war?
Yeah, I don't
You
know.
need to.
Yeah,
I mean, for God's sakes, all the Olympians do it.
yeah,
That's not even war. That's just sports.
yeah, it's true.
This game's good.
It is good so far.
I think we're going to be talking about this for a couple episodes. I would
Yeah,
say.
because there's so much to talk about, right?
Oh, Easter egg. When you cook, I was skipping because I've cooked so many times that like I skipped the song.
Right.
But now Link hums old Zelda tunes while he
Really?
cooks. Yeah, you know.
What? I just hear the cooking
Listen
thing.
closer. That's
Oh,
still going on. Underneath, he's going, or like,
no shit, huh?
yeah, he hums little Zelda tunes.
That's like that it's the little things, that they
It's a little thing.
really don't need to put in a game,
I
but
know, I know.
it's great that they do, you know?
Yeah, it's really awesome. All right. Well, do you have any other big things to mention, or do we call it there for now? Because we got a
Yeah.
lot more of this game to uncover. I have not played Jedi Survivor since this came out.
You should have beat it
I know. I
before it came
tried.
out.
I
It's
really tried.
it's a rookie mistake.
I know. You know what? They're patching it. When I go back and finish it, it's going to be in a much stronger state. So it's not a big deal. But this, I don't know. I started playing it because I knew we were going to talk about it on the podcast.
Yeah.
But then I couldn't stop thinking about the game. So yeah.
Yeah, I like, I don't know. I guess I played it a good bit, but I've been up and down. But I mean, I got it kind of late, and then I just didn't want to get it started. Uh, I get like way too involved into it when I have other stuff to do. But
Yeah.
I don't know. It's like when I pick it up, I'm like, I don't want to put it down.
I mean, again, I didn't have the easiest time getting hooked on it because at first I was just like, this is pissing me off more than I'm having fun with it. But
Right.
and it still is. It's still pissing me off because it's hard. It can be challenging in places. Um,
Yeah.
like the I will say I still have a problem with the control scheme. I don't think it's perfect.
It's like maybe I'm getting old here, but I'm fumbling around with like pressing the right buttons at the right time.
Mm,
I'm like 4 out of 10, not even more like 7 out of 10 times I'm pressing the wrong button to do something.
you're not the only one. A lot of
Yeah.
people have been talking about it. And like, oh, we wanted people to like we did the control scheme how we wanted to because that's the best. And it's like, no, no. I'm sorry,
No,
Nintendo. Like,
yeah, I don't
no.
know. The whole like swapping weapons feels clunky. It even did in the last one. The fact that you swap weapons and then the item thing is up there, uh, and then how the swapping for range weapons, which I
Fun fact, didn't know that existed until this game.
yeah, super weird.
Um, I played entirely through Breath of the Wild without knowing that you could hot swap bows.
Yeah,
Didn't know
which I
that.
mean, you don't really need to, right? But yeah, you
No,
can.
it's usually but I would open my pause menu and swap. Um, but I didn't know you could hold R. It's a very weird control scheme that starts to make sense, but you
Yeah,
really have to train your brain.
actually, I mean, there's if we're nitpicking here, there's a couple things like crafting, food making, all that really did not need to be that whole like let me just collect items in my hand and then throw it into a pot, right? Because then you have this singular menu with shit everywhere. How are
No,
you
I
can't
want to
parse through
click
it.
on the pot and I want to open a mini
Just
game.
food, just just
Recipes.
monster parts,
Yeah.
and then when I'm going to like do the other shit that I need to do, it just pulls up just the parts that are used for that, not food
Yeah.
and all of it.
I was happy to see the recipes.
Yeah,
Like you can click on one item And if you've made a recipe with it, it's
Yeah,
saved and that's great, but it's still, you still have to cook one meal at a time instead of just being like, oh, I've made these 50 meals before. One, one, two, one, one, two, and then cook like six things
yeah,
and boom, it's that easy.
yeah.
Not
Yeah,
everything has to be this like step by step process.
I
Yeah.
know, and it was she was cool in the first one, but at this point, it's like, and especially since like all these other items seem more useful now, right? And are using more, just parsing
Hmm.
through it all the time. No, no, thank you.
Well, and for crafting, when
And the
you want
sorting
to,
sucks ass.
yeah, when you want to fuse a weapon, you have to drop it on the ground, pull out your
Yeah,
weapon,
yeah,
smack them together.
yeah. It's like super weird to me that there
And
isn't just like a fuse. Yeah, in
no,
like
and
the
I always look like an old person when I'm trying to figure it out on the fly. I'm just like, okay, wait, I can put down and
no, I don't want to jump
L.
through the goddamn roof.
Oh my God, the amount of times I've been doing something and just started climbing a wall. I'm just like,
Yeah.
get down, please get down. Pick up the sword.
No, don't jump higher, you stupid motherfucker.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, but X or triangle for jump, stop it. I hate it. I hate it so much.
Yeah.
God, I want to
Well,
sprint with X and
yeah,
jump with B,
well,
or
you
sprint with Y and jump with B.
the only way for you to sprint and jump at the same time is to do one of these maneuvers, you know? You gotta
Yeah,
like swap your fingers around. Let me sprint and jump.
yeah,
Yeah,
and
you
so
can't
the
really
alt.
like, you know.
So what you wind
Yeah,
up
you
doing
can't
is
really do
like
that. I
half
guess you
jumping.
like, but yeah, which is
Yeah.
yeah, that's
No,
literally what you're
that's
doing
right. We
half
can
the
we can
game.
do this now. We can, yeah, so that's your jump, which makes no sense. Like with a Nintendo game, I want to hold this to sprint and then I want to jump with that. Eh.
Eh,
But like
something.
and
Well,
then
at
like
least
give
like
me
those
A for attack or something.
yeah, I can hold down A and jump. This is the only
Yeah.
thing we really use videos for, folks, is just so
Is
we can have
breaking down our
yeah,
controllers.
yeah. Um,
This podcast sponsored by 8-Bit Dough.
it's not, but it should be.
Oh, it should be. You make great controllers.
Yeah.
When we make it, we'll do the first sponsorship for free. I think that's going to cover it for Zelda this week. Now that we've done our nitpicking, and
Yeah.
by next week, Matt will be further. I'll maybe know what temples are if they exist at all.
Yes, tell us.
We'll see. Um, but
Maybe they
yeah,
don't. Maybe you already explored the temple and you didn't even know it.
I kind of did, but it wasn't really a temple yet. I don't know. We'll see. I'm really looking forward to what they've rounded that out with, but we'll see.
Hear me
Um,
out. You go back in time and then it's the temple. Bam.
oh my God. You go back in time and every temple is a different Zelda game
Yes.
in time.
So are we doing like a continuity thing now where
Yeah.
we're combining the different or I guess meta thing now where we're combining the different Zelda universes into one?
I don't think it's possible. Well, I mean, some people have ventured an idea that there's like a loop thing going on. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's weird. There's even a Ouroboros snake in the logo that somebody pointed out that I didn't even think about.
There is.
Yeah, I was like, oh, okay.
I don't even think
Um,
about that.
I swear to God, like that's got to be Ganondorf under the tower, right?
It was.
It had
It,
to be. He had red hair.
just like, why does he know our names? Like, guys,
Yeah,
it's been like what, a year tops since you fought this guy? Like,
yeah,
so no, I mean, obvious Ganon in that universe, I guess all universes, but this universe specifically revives every, however many thousands of years. I forget what it is. That's a known fact to them. And then he gets defeated, and then he just revives again. So he never really dies. You fight like four different versions of him. He's obviously like a shade of himself. That's his real body. That was just imprisoned. That's why he probably can't die, period, because he has like that Magatama that he stole from like the ancient people, keeping him alive, but he was just
But the
like
question
bound.
is, do they remember those things?
Yeah, I mean that's the whole thing.
I
I
think
mean,
they're
do any of
full
them?
reincarnations while he's like the same sentience moving, through everything. I don't know.
I don't know either. I mean,
Because
are
I
they
mean
fully
you
reading?
have Links and
It does
Zeldas
seem
that are
like weird
younger
because
and
I don't know, but they talk about the calamity happening. I mean, you kind of just take it that this is like.
well, I think these are the same consciousness, but I mean, do you fight Ganondorf in Breath of the
No,
Wild?
you fight like Ganon the Beast, right?
Yeah,
You don't really
so
fight, but I'm surprised that they just didn't figure that. Maybe
that he
yeah.
was
I mean,
part of that, yeah, I know.
yeah. I mean, maybe not. I suppose because they
But
did
they
show
didn't
him as
play
like a
Ocarina like
big.
we did.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
didn't fight
You're right.
Ganondorf
You're right.
or
You're
Wind Waker and stab him in the face with the
yeah.
Master Sword. What else? I don't know. Speculation. We'll find out. Um,
Speculation. Which
yeah,
another thing, kind of just super anime, really cool, right?
I know.
Loved all of it. Loved
I know.
every last bit of it.
And creepy.
Yeah, and yeah, creep.
Sick.
Like a little, yeah. I mean, he's like you and your master sword and your entire arm. I'm just gonna
He
bloom.
just does a quick reckoning on the entire world, and then
Yeah,
Zelda disappears and starts being super creepy.
yeah. She was being a little creepy.
Just going around disappearing places and stuff.
Yeah, but oh yeah. I mean, another thing is like the first robot you come across with totally says to you that like Zelda told you to just wait for him. So I think she told him in the past, like wait
Oh yeah, yeah.
for Link for like
100 years.
yeah, more than that,
Or
right? It's got to be like 10,000 years. No, seriously, how long did they say Ganon revives? Like how long is that cycle? It was I think like a really long time in the.
oh, wow. I don't know. I gotta look up a lore video, even though like I feel like it's
I feel like
foolhardy.
this
Like,
up too.
what's the point?
Yeah, you're right.
Because it's just I don't think it's real. Like I don't think the full Zelda timeline is actually real. I think they've been making games and they try to form it into something.
And then,
Um, but I do want to know because I'm a lore junkie. I
all
just
right,
don't like gathering it from notes in games. I like going to YouTube and finding it.
it's like I don't know. Maybe I don't think I'm pulling it out of my butt here because I think
Mm,
they specifically said that like Ganon revives every couple thousands of years or whatever to wreak havoc on the world. In
I know that stuff. I don't know about the years.
yeah,
But yes, I think it's he just continually reincarnates
yeah.
and fails. But all right, it's another tangent. Again, we'll never stop talking about this game.
No.
um, that's it, folks. Thank you so much for joining us this week for the Nerding Grounds podcast. Please, please tell your friends, share all that stuff. We have a Patreon that you can support, and if you do, we will be really, really thankful and talk about you on this podcast and read any questions you have and do anything you want for the time being. Um, well, anyway. Also, you can just send us questions to the nerdinggrounds@gmail.com, and you are not required to give us any money for that. Any support you can give is much appreciated.
Just like we're not required to answer them.
All right, we'll figure that part out.
Nah, I mean,
It's got a
you,
good cop, bad cop thing going on.
yeah.
I love it. In the meantime, thank you all so much. Have a great week/weekend, and let us know how you're feeling about Zelda. Bye.
Bye.